In 2010, Real Madrid handed one man the keys to the most expensive squad ever assembled. By the time he left, half the dressing room wanted him gone, but he'd also delivered the club's first league title in 4 years and broken a points record that took a decade to fall. Now, in 2026, his name is back in the conversation. And this time, the question isn't whether he could win. It's whether Madrid could survive him again. This is the story of one of football's most volatile relationships, and why it might be reigniting at the worst possible moment or the perfect one. José Mourinho, Real Madrid, two names that together produced trophies, chaos, and one of the ugliest exits in the club's modern history. But football has short memory and long ambition, and right now, there's a version of Real Madrid that's tactically lost, defensively fragile, and sitting on a generational attacking core that nobody seems able to organize. So here's the question this video is going to answer. What would actually happen, tactically, politically, and psychologically, if José Mourinho walked back into that dressing room? To understand why this rumor carries so much weight, you need to understand what Mourinho actually did at Real Madrid the first time, because the popular memory of his spell there is wrong. Most fans remember the ending, the slap on Tito Villanova, the dressing room fractures, Casillas benched, but here's what people forget. In the 2011-12 season, Mourinho's Real Madrid won La Liga with 100 points, a Spanish record that stood for years, and 121 goals, still one of the highest totals in league history. They beat Barcelona's greatest team ever to a title during peak Pep Guardiola. Tactically, what Mourinho did was almost heretical for Madrid at the time. He turned a team built on individual brilliance into a vertical, transition-based machine. Fast outlets, compact defensive shape, and Cristiano Ronaldo weaponized as a counter-attacking finisher rather than a possession piece. It worked, spectacularly, but it also clashed with everything the club's culture demanded: flair, control, glamour. Mourinho gave Madrid efficiency. The Bernabéu wanted art and that tension. It's about to matter again because the current Madrid squad has the opposite problem. Fast forward to now. Real Madrid have arguably the most talented front line in world football: Mbappé, Vinicius, Bellingham, Rodrigo rotating through positions like a 5-a-side team in a 5-star stadium. But defensively, they've been alarmingly open. Analysts have pointed out that Madrid's underlying defensive numbers, distance covered out of possession, recovery time after losing the ball, shots conceded from transitions, have been some of the worst of any team competing for major trophies. This is, ironically, exactly the kind of team Mourinho was built to fix. His entire managerial identity, from Porto to Chelsea to Inter to Madrid the first time, has been about imposing defensive structure on talented but chaotic squads. Think about it. Mourinho has never lost a European final. 3 different clubs, 3 different countries, and every single time, the story is the same. Take a team that's good but vulnerable and make it nearly impossible to beat. But here's the part nobody's talking about. The players he'd be managing this time aren't the same type of players he's ever worked with before. And that changes everything. Mourinho's management style has always required total buy-in. His best teams, Chelsea 4-0-5, Inter 9-10, even his first Madrid side, were built on senior players who accepted discipline in exchange for trophies. Makelele, Lampard, Lucio, Sergio Ramos. But this current Madrid squad is different. It's younger, more emotionally driven, and far more empowered by social media, agents, and individual brand building than any Mourinho squad in history. Vinicius Jr., for example, plays with an emotional intensity that has occasionally worked against him. Confrontations, suspensions, public conflicts. Now picture that temperament under a manager whose entire brand is built on confrontation and controlling the emotional narrative around his team. That could go one of two ways. Either Mourinho channels that fire into something controlled and lethal, the way he did with a young, combustible Ramos, or it becomes the spark for exactly the kind of dressing room conflict that ended his first spell. And speaking of how that first spell ended, there's one specific moment that explains everything about why this reunion is either brilliant or doomed. Let's go back to it. If you want to understand the real reason Mourinho's Madrid relationship collapsed, it wasn't a single tactical failure. It was a moment of pure psychological warfare that backfired. The Villanova incident in April 2012 wasn't just a loss of control, it became a symbol. From that point on, the narrative around Mourinho's Madrid stopped being about football and started being about conflict. Every press conference became theater. Every defeat became a referendum on his personality, not his tactics. And here's the brutal irony. The season after that 100-point masterpiece, Madrid actually played some of their most expansive attacking football under Mourinho. But by then, the dressing room trust was gone. Casillas was benched. Veteran players were leaking stories to the press. The club's hierarchy had already decided he was too disruptive to keep, regardless of results. This is the pattern football historians point to again and again with Mourinho. His teams often peak in year 2, then implode in year 3, not because the football stops working, but because the relationships do. So if Madrid bring him back now, the real question isn't can he win? It's how long until the dressing room politics start again? And the answer to that might depend on something happening at Madrid right now that's bigger than any single manager. Real Madrid, under Florentino Pérez, has spent the last several years pursuing a specific philosophy. The Galacticos II model, built on marketable global superstars, expansive football, and presidential-level control over major decisions. But that model has produced something unexpected: instability. Since the second Zidane era ended, Madrid have cycled through approaches without finding consistency, flashes of brilliance in Europe, but domestic inconsistency and defensive fragility that's become a recurring storyline. Compare that to Manchester City, or even Bayern Munich under Tuchel and beyond, clubs that, for all their internal noise, have generally found tactical identity through continuity. Madrid, for all their financial power, have struggled to find that same identity post-Zidane. A Mourinho return wouldn't just be a managerial appointment. It would be Madrid effectively admitting that the beautiful football, let the stars figure it out, approach hasn't solved their biggest weaknesses, and that sometimes winning requires someone willing to be unpopular. And that's the paradox sitting at the heart of this entire story. Let's bring it all together. Here's the truth about José Mourinho that both his critics and his admirers tend to oversimplify. He is, statistically, one of the most effective fixers in football history. Wherever he's gone, defensive structure has improved almost immediately. Big games have been won. Trophies have followed. But he has never been a long-term project. His success has a shelf life, usually 2 years before the same intensity that drives results starts to corrode relationships. So if Real Madrid bring him back, they wouldn't be signing a long-term vision. They'd be deploying a short, sharp correction, a tactical reset button for a squad that's drifted defensively and needs someone willing to make hard, unpopular calls on a roster full of untouchable stars. The question is whether Madrid's modern squad, wealthier, younger, and more powerful than any group of players he's managed before, would accept that correction, or whether history, once again, repeats itself faster than anyone expects. So here's what I want to know. If you were Florentino Pérez, knowing everything that happened the first time, Would you bring Mourinho back for one more run? Or is this a reunion that's better left as a memory? Drop your answer in the comments. And if you think there's a manager who'd be an even bigger gamble for this Madrid squad, let me know who, because that might just be the next video.